Welcome back to the channel, basketball fans, and to what is undeniably going to be one of the most critical, comprehensive, and exhaustive breakdowns of the Philippine national basketball team's strategic direction, roster construction, and tactical philosophy that we have ever presented on this platform. We are talking about Gilas Pilipinas, the absolute crown jewel of Philippine sports, a team that carries the immense weight, the unparalleled hopes, the fervent dreams, and the unyielding passion of over 100 million basketball-crazed Filipinos located across the beautiful archipelago and spread out across the entire globe. Basketball in the Philippines, as we all know, is not merely a sport or a casual pastime. It is an undeniable, deeply rooted religion, an ever-present cultural touchstone that unites an entire nation, cutting across socio-economic classes and regional divides like absolutely nothing else can. Every single dribble on the hardwood, every single pass in transition, every defensive rotation in the half-court, and most importantly, every single roster decision made by the management and the coaching staff is rightfully subjected to the most intense, microscopic, and passionate scrutiny imaginable by the most dedicated fan base in the world. Today, we are diving headfirst into the absolute epicenter of the most recent, fiery, and explosive debates that have been completely dominating the local sports landscape, taking over social media platforms, dominating podcast discussions, and fueling endless arguments in coffee shops and street courts from the bustling streets of Manila to the farthest reaches of Mindanao. We are looking specifically at the complex frontcourt hierarchy of the national team and the absolute critical evolution of the wing position, a position that has completely transformed on the international stage over the last decade. The title of today's exhaustive feature-length discussion is very clear, but the tactical layers, the historical context, and the basketball philosophies beneath it are incredibly complex and demand a proper, thorough investigation. We are going to meticulously break down KaiSotto's two massive, undeniable advantages over the reigning, undisputed collegiate king of Philippine basketball, QUAMBAO. Furthermore, we are going to unpack the deep, underlying tactical reasons, the defensive philosophies, and the modern basketball imperatives that explain exactly why the Gilas Pilipinas management and coaching staff made the absolute crucial, game-changing decision to bring in the high-flying, defensively tenacious RHENZ Abando and the incredibly versatile, relentless two-way forward Xavier Lucero. Before we get into the XS and OS, the advanced analytics, and the player profiles, we have to properly set the stage and truly understand the massive stakes involved whenever Gilas Pilipinas steps onto the international hardwood. The landscape of international basketball, specifically under the banner of FIBA, has undergone a radical, high-speed evolution over the last 15 to 20 years. The days when heart, hustle, and the patented Filipino fighting spirit, that legendary puso, were enough to secure monumental upset victories against taller, stronger, and more system-oriented teams are unfortunately becoming a thing of the past. The global game has caught up, and it has evolved. European teams have perfected the art of positionless basketball, emphasizing rapid ball movement, elite perimeter shooting from all 5 positions, and massive, mobile big men who can protect the rim and switch onto guards. Asian powerhouse teams like Australia and New Zealand, who have completely shifted the power dynamics since joining the Asian zone, bring a level of brutal physicality, supreme athleticism, and relentless execution that the Philippines has historically struggled to match. Even our traditional regional rivals, teams like Japan, South Korea, Lebanon, and China, have drastically upgraded their developmental programs, integrated naturalized players who perfectly fit their systems, and developed homegrown talents who are currently starring in highly competitive professional leagues across the globe. In this incredibly unforgiving, hyper-competitive international environment, the margin for error for Gilas Pilipinas is virtually zero. You cannot simply assemble a collection of the most popular players from the local professional league or the standout stars from the collegiate ranks and expect them to magically synergize and defeat cohesive national programs that have been playing together within the same tactical system for years. Roster construction for the national team is no longer about just picking the 12 best individual basketball players. It is a highly complex puzzle that requires finding the exact 12 players whose unique skill sets, physical attributes, mental makeups, and basketball IQs perfectly complement each other to form a resilient, adaptable, and formidable unit. It is about building a team that can execute a specific game plan, a team that possesses the necessary size to secure defensive rebounds against 7-footers, the necessary speed to close out on elite shooters, and the necessary defensive versatility to survive the relentless pick-and-roll attacks that define modern FIBA basketball. This brings us to the very heart of today's monumental discussion, the front court and the wings. For decades, the Achilles heel of Philippine basketball on the world stage has been size. We have always produced world-class, dazzling, lightning-fast point guards who can break down defenses, and we have always produced deadly shooters who can light it up from beyond the arc. But when it comes to the painted area, when it comes to battling in the trenches against the behemoths of the global game, we have almost always found ourselves at a severe, sometimes insurmountable, physical disadvantage. We have relied on undersized, big-hearted centers who have fought valiantly but ultimately succumbed to the sheer physics of facing opponents who are half a foot taller and 50 pounds heavier. This is exactly why the emergence of a true, legitimate 7'3" center like KaiSotto is viewed not just as a great development, but as a generational, paradigm-shifting phenomenon for the national program. But at the exact same time, we are witnessing the meteoric rise of QUAMBAO, a player whose basketball intelligence, unparalleled playmaking from the forward position, and sheer dominance in the collegiate ranks have sparked a very legitimate, very heated debate about who should be the focal point of the Gilas frontcourt in specific matchups. Simultaneously, the global basketball meta has dictated that you cannot win at the highest levels without elite, two-way wing players. You need players in the small forward and shooting guard positions who are not just offensive threats, but absolute defensive stoppers. You need athletes who can fight over bone-crushing screens, stay in front of explosive guards, contest shots at the apex without fouling, and immediately turn defensive stops into devastating transition opportunities. For a long time, the Philippines struggled to produce this specific archetype of player, that massive 6'4" to 6'6" wing who possessed both the lateral quickness of a guard and the vertical explosion of a forward. This is the exact contextual vacuum that makes the inclusion of RHENZ ABANDO and Xavier Lucero so profoundly significant. These are not your traditional Philippine basketball players. They represent a new breed, a vital evolutionary step in our talent pool, tailored specifically to survive and thrive in the brutally fast and athletic modern FIBA game. So, buckle up, settle in, and get ready for a basketball masterclass. We are going to leave absolutely no stone unturned. We will dissect the film, we will analyze the physical metrics, we will dive into the psychological demands of playing overseas, and we will break down the precise tactical implementations that dictate these roster moves. By the end of this deep dive, you will have a comprehensive, expert-level understanding of exactly why the Gilas Pilipinas depth chart looks the way it does, why certain players are prioritized in specific international windows, and how these crucial decisions are shaping the trajectory of Philippine basketball as we march toward the next major global tournaments. Let's get right into the heart of the matter. Let us transition directly into the core of our analysis, beginning with the highly debated, widely discussed dynamic in the frontcourt, the comparison between KaiSotto and QUAMBAO. Now, before we establish the advantages of Sotto, it is absolutely imperative to pay proper respect to what QUAMBAO is currently achieving. QUAMBAO is, without a shadow of a doubt, a basketball savant. What he is doing in the local collegiate scene is nothing short of historic. He operates as a true point forward, an offensive hub who possesses a preternatural feel for the game, elite court vision, and a spectacular ability to manipulate defenses with his passing. In a localized setting, against players his own size or smaller, QUAMBAO is an unstoppable force, capable of diagnosing defensive coverages in real time and dissecting them with surgical precision. However, when we elevate the conversation from the domestic collegiate level to the highest tier of international FIBA competition, where the floor is spaced differently, the defensive 3-second rule does not exist, and the sheer size and speed of the opposing players increase exponentially, the paradigm shifts entirely. This is where KaiSotto's specific, undeniable advantages become not just apparent, but absolutely essential for the survival and success of Gilas Pilipinas. The first massive advantage that KaiSotto holds over QUAMBAO, and virtually every other homegrown big man in the history of Philippine basketball, is his unteachable, elite physical profile and the resulting interior deterrence. We are talking about a legitimate 7'3" frame with a massive wingspan. In the realm of international basketball, geometry and physics matter immensely. FIBA basketball, unlike the NBA, allows defenders to camp in the painted area. This means the restricted area is constantly clogged, and scoring at the rim requires navigating a forest of giant defenders. When KaiSotto is anchored in the middle of the Gilas defense, he completely alters the opposing team's offensive shot chart just by existing on the floor. Let's break down the mechanics of this. In modern pick-and-roll defense, teams generally utilize drop coverage, hedging, or switching. When a smaller center tries to play drop coverage, opposing guards will simply turn the corner and elevate over them, or opposing big men will catch the lob over the top. When KaiSotto plays drop coverage, his sheer length forces opposing guards to completely abandon their primary read. They cannot shoot the floater because Sotto's contest radius extends incredibly high. They cannot easily throw the lob because Sotto occupies the airspace. He acts as a massive human eraser in the paint. Even if he does not physically block the shot, the sheer threat of his length causes shot alteration. Opponents double clutch, they adjust their release points, and they miss layups they would normally make against a 6'6" or 6'7" defender like QUAMBAO. While QUAMBAO is a highly intelligent team defender who understands rotations and positioning perfectly, he simply does not possess the physical tools to protect the rim against 7-foot European centers or ultra-athletic African big men. In the international game, if you do not have a rim protector, your perimeter defenders have to overhelp, which leads to wide-open three-pointers for the opposition. KaiSotto's size allows the Gilas perimeter defenders to stay at home on shooters, knowing the paint is secured. This single physical trait completely changes the mathematical equation of the Gilas defense. The second crucial advantage KaiSotto possesses over Kevin QUAMBAO is his top-tier international professional experience. This cannot be overstated. While QUAMBAO is currently mastering the collegiate game, KaiSotto has spent the last several years subjecting himself to the absolute crucible of elite overseas leagues. He has played in the Australian NBL, widely considered one of the top 3 or 4 domestic leagues in the entire world, renowned for its brutal physicality and high-level tactical execution. He is currently playing in the Japanese B-League, a league that heavily imports massive, former NBA big men and elite scoring guards. This experience creates a massive gap in game speed processing and physical conditioning. When KaiSotto steps onto a FIBA court, the game does not speed up for him. He is already accustomed to the velocity of the international game. He is used to fighting for post position against massive, 260-pound import centers. He is used to the incredibly tight whistle of international referees. He understands the nuances of setting screens, rolling with violence, and finishing through contact against elite, world-class athletes. When a player transitions from a collegiate league to a FIBA World Cup or an Olympic qualifying tournament, the shock to the system is massive. The windows for passing are smaller, the closeouts are faster, and the physicality is relentless. KaiSotto has already traversed that learning curve. He has been battered, bruised, and tested by grown men and former NBA players for years. This hard-earned, battle-tested professional experience gives him a level of poise, tactical awareness, and physical readiness that a purely collegiate player, no matter how incredibly talented they are domestically, simply cannot replicate overnight. Now, let us shift our focus from the massive bodies in the paint to the absolute vital cogs on the perimeter. We need to thoroughly analyze the Gilas Pilipinas Brain Trust's specific, targeted reasoning for heavily integrating RHENZ ABANDO and Xavier Lucero into the national team fold. To understand this, we must look at the historical struggles of the Philippine team. 4 years we could score with anyone, but when we face teams with massive, athletic wing players, the 6'5" to 6'8" small forwards and shooting guards who could handle the ball, shoot over the top, and defend multiple positions, our defense would absolutely collapse. We simply did not have the physical prototypes to match up. This is exactly where RHENZ ABANDO comes into the picture. Abando is not just a basketball player. He is a spectacular, explosive, fast-twitch athlete who completely defies gravity. But the reason Gilas needs him is not for his highlight reel dunks. It is for his unbelievable capability as an elite, disruptive perimeter defender and a weak-side shot-blocking menace. In the modern international game, the ability to contain the point of attack is everything. If your first line of defense is breached, the entire defensive structure crumbles. Abando possesses the lateral quickness to stay attached to the absolute fastest, most lethal scoring guards in Asia and the world. He navigates screens with incredible agility. But what makes Abando truly special, and the precise reason Gilas prioritizes him, is his verticality on the defensive end. It is incredibly rare to find a guard who acts as a secondary rim protector. We saw this brilliantly displayed on the world stage during the FIBA World Cup, where Abando was literally rising up and blocking the shots of towering NBA players. In a system where you are often outsized, having a guard who can crash the boards with an astonishing vertical leap and swat away shots from much taller players provides a monumental tactical advantage. Furthermore, Abando brings invaluable international experience from his time in the highly physical, extremely fast-paced Korean basketball league. He has learned how to be a star in a foreign country, how to adapt to different coaching styles, and how to impact the game even when he is not the primary offensive option. He spaces the floor with his vastly improved three-point shooting, and his sheer energy is infectious. He is the ultimate modern FIBA role player who can instantly change the momentum of a game with a single defensive sequence. Then we look at Xavier Lucero. The inclusion of Lucero is a masterstroke in securing versatility and switchability. In the current era of basketball, defensive switching is the primary weapon used to neutralize the pick and roll. If you have a defensive lineup that can seamlessly switch defensive assignments without creating massive mismatches, you effectively break the opposing team's offensive flow. Lucero is the absolute prototype of the modern, switchable forward. Standing at around 6'6" with a solid frame, great length, and a relentless, high-revving motor, Lucero can comfortably defend up to 3 or 4 positions on the floor. The Gilas coaching staff looks at Lucero and sees a perfectly malleable puzzle piece. He is strong enough to battle down low with heavier power forwards, yet quick enough on his feet to stay in front of slashing wings and guards on the perimeter. This type of two-way versatility is exactly what Gilas has historically lacked. Beyond his defense, Lucero brings a crucial element of high IQ garbage work. He is an elite offensive rebounder for his position, utilizing his timing and explosive second jump to create extra possessions. He is a phenomenal cutter who understands how to find open space when defenses collapse on the big men or the primary playmakers. He doesn't demand the ball to be effective. He thrives in the chaotic, unstructured moments of a basketball game, turning loose balls into fast break points and defensive stops into momentum-shifting plays. When you combine the specific skill sets of Abando and Lucero, you instantly elevate the entire athletic profile and the defensive ceiling of Gilas Pilipinas. You provide the coaching staff with the exact tools needed to execute complex defensive schemes, to press full court, to switch on everything, and to finally match the physical intensity of the world's best teams. They are not brought in to drop 30 points a night. They are brought in to be the ultimate glue guys, the defensive anchors on the perimeter, and the energetic catalysts that allow players like KaiSotto, Justin Brownlee, or Dwight Ramos to operate with maximum efficiency. They represent a fundamental shift in the Gilas philosophy, a move away from relying solely on offensive firepower and toward building a gritty, athletic, and defensively terrifying roster capable of winning ugly, grinding out victories on the world stage. As we bring this massive, exhaustive deep dive to a close, it is incredibly important to synthesize all of this information and look at the grand, overarching picture for Philippine basketball. The passionate debates, the endless comparisons, and the intense scrutiny surrounding the national team are ultimately a testament to how much this beautiful game means to the Filipino people. We care deeply, and therefore we analyze deeply. When we look back at the core of our discussion today, the narrative surrounding KaiSotto and QUAMBAO should not be framed as a bitter rivalry or a mutually exclusive choice, but rather as a profound realization of the different tools required for different jobs. QUAMBAO is a phenomenal, generational talent within the domestic landscape, a player whose basketball IQ and playmaking ability will undoubtedly make him a cornerstone of Philippine basketball for the next decade. However, the international arena is a completely different beast, an unforgiving environment where physics, sheer size, and high-level professional experience dictate the terms of engagement. KaiSotto's massive 7'3" frame, his elite rim deterrence, and the invaluable, battle-hardened experience he has gained playing against grown men and world-class imports in Australia and Japan provide him with undeniable, crucial advantages that Gilas Pilipinas absolutely cannot afford to ignore on the global stage. He is the specific key that unlocks a functional defense against the titans of world basketball. Simultaneously, the strategic elevation of players like RHENZ Abando and Xavier Lucero represents a massive leap forward in the evolution of our national program. For too long, we have tried to fight modern basketball wars with outdated, undersized weaponry. By prioritizing elite athleticism, spectacular perimeter defense, extreme positional versatility, and the sheer, unbridled energy that Abando and Lucero bring to the hardwood, the Gilas management is explicitly telling the world that we are adapting. We are building a roster that can switch on defense, that can contest shots at the rim from the guard position, that can run the floor relentlessly, and that can finally match the physical profile of the elite international wings that have historically given us nightmares. They are the essential defensive anchors that allow our offensive systems to actually function. The journey ahead for Gilas Pilipinas is fraught with massive challenges. We are looking down the barrel of crucial FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers, intense Olympic qualifying cycles in the future, and the relentless pressure to constantly perform and elevate our world ranking. But by understanding the deep, complex tactical reasoning behind these specific roster decisions, by understanding the absolute necessity of KaiSotto's size and the critical defensive evolution brought by Abando and Lucero, we can view the team's development through a lens of strategic optimism. We are no longer just hoping for a miracle. We are actively building a modern, highly functional machine designed specifically for the rigors of international play. Now, I want to turn this massive conversation over to you, the most passionate basketball community in the world. After hearing this exhaustive breakdown, where do you stand? Do you agree that KaiSotto's international experience and sheer size give him the definitive edge over Kevin QUAMBAO in a FIBA setting, or do you believe QUAMBAO's elite playmaking is exactly what the national team needs regardless of his size disadvantage? Furthermore, how crucial do you think the defensive intensity and athleticism of RHENZ ABANDO and Xavier Lucero are to the ultimate success of Gilas in the upcoming tournaments? I want to see you absolutely flood the comments section below. Let's get a high-level, respectful, and deep basketball debate going right now. If you appreciated the intense level of detail, the tactical breakdown, and the sheer depth of this analysis, please do me a massive favor and hit that like button right now. It truly helps push this content out to more hardcore basketball fans across the algorithm. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and absolutely smash that notification bell so you never miss another deep dive, breaking news update, or tactical masterclass on this channel. We are going to be tracking Gilas Pilipinas every single step of the way, breaking down the tape, analyzing the box scores, and providing the most comprehensive coverage you can find anywhere on YouTube. Thank you all so incredibly much for sticking with me through this long-form analysis. Thank you for your constant support of the channel, and as always, keep the passion for the game alive. I will see you all in the very next video.